Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the Musings and Music Show. This is going to be just an audio recording, so it will be broadcast on radio. And it's a special privilege I have today. This is EGBE MBIWAN MONJIMBO, as you know, coming to you on VOSAWORLD Radio. I'm feeling happy and very privileged today because I have a special guest on the line with me to talk about a whole bunch of important things. So I'm going to have her go ahead without further ado and introduce herself for our listeners listening to today.
Thank you very much, Evie. Thank you for having me on your wonderful program. My name is MAUREEN Mwanawaza, former First Lady of the Republic of Zambia.
Wow.
I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm also a community worker and a farmer, a mother of 4,
Wow.
and a proud African. Thank you very much.
Wow. That is a whole lot wrapped into one individual, I tell you. If I pick any one of those things, that is more than enough to do. Farmer, that's already it. Lawyer, that's huge. Mother of 4, that's a full-time job right there. And just to ask, what is the age range of these children, these 4 children? Are they young, grown young adults?
No, they're now grown up.
Uh-huh.
My first 2, my firstborn daughter and my son are in their early 30s, and the last 2 are in their early 20s.
Wow. What an achievement.
Yes.
Right there. Oh, that is
yes, my firstborn daughter, thank God, she has gone back to State House where she grew up from, and now she works there as one of the special advisors to the president.
That is awesome. That is a very successful life you have there, and very busy it must be. All right, so what was
very busy?
I can imagine. And you're coming to us today from where, so our listeners know? Where are you coming to us from this morning?
I'm chatting with you from Lusaka, the capital city of Zambia.
Wow. Wow, all the way from there. I thank you so much for the privilege. So what was life like for you when you were growing up in Zambia?
I grew up as an ordinary child. I didn't have a life which you can say was above an average child. I grew up in a township, like many children growing up that time. My parents were entrepreneurs with very humble education, but very successful in their trade. I went to a government primary school. I went to a government secondary school. I went to a government university. And then all these services were free. We paid nothing except buying a pair of uniforms. Books were free. Pencils were free. Reading books, exercise books were all free during my time.
Wow.
So
that shows what value.
So as a girl child, you had no excuse really to stay home because there was no challenge, there was no impediment, except to tell yourself you must get educated and value the education. That's all.
That is wonderful to hear. Is that how it still is now, or has it changed?
Over time, it's changed. Over the years, it's changed as the population grew.
Exactly.
The government had other priorities. But we are so privileged. Under the 4th Republic of our new president, free education has been reintroduced from primary to university for all underprivileged children.
That is
the only And for the university, from next year, from 2023 budget, even meal allowances for sponsored students have been reintroduced.
That is very good to hear, very nice to hear. Because as you said, that makes education accessible to everybody, even if you are not born privileged. That is a very good thing to do.
Yes, that's the idea. Especially the children in the rural areas.
Right.
They also have a lot to smile about. More infrastructure is being built so that schools are near where the people are living. And the girl child have had challenges like any other girl child on the continent and beyond, were married off early. And for the government to deal with that challenge, free education is one of the solutions, because girl children easily got married at an early age. One of the reasons given was that parents could not afford education. Right. So that now has been dealt with. Right. We now have to deal with attitudes of the parents and the community.
Oh, did I lose you? I probably did. Let me hit the pause button briefly, waiting for you to come on back. Let's hit that pause button. Now we've resumed. Sorry about that little technical glitch. But now the technical difficulty is gone, so we are going to resume our interesting conversation. Are you with us, ma'am?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, and you were talking about the fact that the Zambian government has gotten rid of the affordability issue, where parents would give it the excuse that they could not send their girl children to school because they couldn't afford it. That's where you were.
Yes. So another intervention which is going on is the role of our traditional leaders. Our traditional leaders have taken it upon themselves to ensure that in their villages, no girl child is being married off at an early age. And if that happens, the law takes its course. The perpetrators are reported to the police so that possible punishment is meted out. Also, the of support from the non-government organizations has been one of the things that has been assisting to keep the girl children in school. At this stage, to talk about also the No Backpack, which we are to have through Mongai from North Carolina, who has been supporting this cause for some years now. And this year, she actually decided to physically come and see where her help has been going. And we had a partnership with Rotary Zambia to go around with her and partnered in the donations of backpacks, supplies, books, crayons, pencils, ball pens, and so on. So it was very, very, very nice. And she was also able to partner with another youth organization which are driving almost the same ideas. And I'm happy to report that they are busy working out how they can make these positive interventions so that the girl child is not any room to give up on herself.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful to hear. So what has your experience been? And you may want to compare it with when you were growing up as opposed to now. Are there any marked differences between how a boy is treated as compared to a girl child? Maybe you may want to compare it with your time when you were growing up and how it is now, or are there no differences at all? Is it the exact same thing? Because where I come from, earlier on, if a parent was not very well to do and they could afford to send just one child or maybe two children to school, they would select the boys and send them to school and then let the girls stay back and say, well, they're going to be married off to somebody. So not necessarily why bother, but if I have to choose, I'm going to just automatically pick the boy. It did not matter how intelligent one was over the other. Has that been your experience ever? Or it has always been the same?
That experience you have explained, it was an African challenge.
Right.
So Zambia was an exception, except that for me as a family,
right,
had a different attitude.
We
were all given the opportunity to go to school and voted. But the majority had that challenge. The boy child had to be given the first priority if the finances were not enough for a child to go to school. And that made the girl child to lag behind.
Correct.
And so it seems to have accepted that until there were dissenting voices which started saying, no, this is not right. Children have the same rights, whether it's a boy. They must be given the same opportunities. They must be given the chance to contribute to national development. They must be given equal access to basic amenities that are required by a human being. So those voices became louder and louder and louder, and now we can see the change that we are seeing. But we still have gaps because we still have to continue pushing the gender divide so that we get to where we can say we are now comfortable. But we are now getting voices from the male folk that the boys have remained behind. So we need to balance and find an equilibrium where we all see each other as equal partners in development. There is the male chauvinism, which the male must accept and say what they have been propagating is actually not right. Even them for the men to be born because there was a woman.
That's true.
So they cannot disregard the same person who carried them in their stomach for 9 months. Right. It doesn't make sense. No, so we hope we get to understanding that we are all equal. We must be given equal opportunities, equal chances to thrive. Some things will be difficult to change, but there's nothing impossible. After all, we create these problems ourselves and these challenges as human beings. They are man-made. So if they are man-made, they are not insurmountable.
Exactly. You're very right. Somebody put those policies and that got that whole mentality and the mindset going. It can be undone. It can be unwound. And I was going to ask, within your time as First Lady, were there any specific things you did to take care of that, to push that mindset, to change things, to change the mentality? Was there any specific thing you did during your tenure as First Lady of the Republic of Zambia?
Yes, we did quite a lot. We created a scholarship fund specifically for vulnerable but viable girls. We pushed the re-entry program, which meant that if a girl child got pregnant, for example, midway her education, she must be able to go and give birth, and then afterwards come back into the school stream. And that is now policy for this country. We have the re-entry program. If by venture a girl gets pregnant, that's not the end of their dreams. They are allowed to come back and learn and take it up from where they left from. We also started a Go to Rearing program as an empowerment for who became pregnant. Granted them a few goats to rear so that they can become economically empowered when they go back to school. they can be able to support the child. And they also use the goat milk when they go back to school as a replacement for formula milk, so that the child can be fed and remain nutritious while the mother goes back to school. So these things have become change makers in many communities. And the GOAT project have grown bigger, and the government has taken it up as a model for empowerment, for economic empowerment for the people. So we're very proud.
Yeah, you should be, with good reason. With good reason.
Yes.
Congratulations on doing that. We need to see more of such innovative ideas, because you see, we are used to doing this a certain way, and sometimes we forget to think outside the box. What can we do that will work for our specific society? And that's why I find that really interesting.
And we did a holistic approach, because if there are challenges in the community for a girl school, and you only deal with giving them a scholarship, supporting them to go to school, that's not sufficient. They are living at home very hungry, because the economic status at home is very bad. Right. So the government is voices of holistic approach. They have introduced over the years a school feeding program, where the children will have a meal at school during school hours. But for us, as under my office, then we introduced also an economic empowerment for the parents, because if there is no food at home, that is already a challenge for the parents to tell their children first to go and till in their fields for them to produce food to eat. Right. So we created an intervention which we called breaking the poverty chain. Okay. African families are quite big. A minimum would be 10 children at a time. And here is a family which is not able to support itself. So we breaking the poverty chain by ensuring that through our NGO, at least one child must go back to school. Right. And then what kind of economic empowerment would help them. Some would choose rearing of cattle, goats, starting a barber shop, buying agriculture inputs so that they start farming, rearing chickens, and you monitor them for a period until they are weaned off and they stand on their own. Because there is no pride in begging. There is no pride in handouts. Right. God gave us the talents to work hard. Exactly. All we need is that one step to start being independent. There is a Chinese saying which says, every journey starts with one step. That economic push of one step is a game changer for all families. And we must create different niche for every community, because they are different. What is possible in their community, and push them with that one, so that they can bring back dignity and pride to their family.
Right. Because that economic empowerment is important, because I know that pretty much it may be in my country, and it's likely to be in yours as well, because most of our African things are kind of the same issues that we face. There's this whole bride price thing and marrying of the girls. Sometimes that was the motivation, the incentive behind it. It was like, that's how they acquired wealth and subsistence. So this father is very eager to sell off his daughter. I'm using the word sell, because that is what it was pretty much. Sell off his daughter into marriage early, and against her wish. That was not her choice, because of the bride price he was going to get. They're going to give him the cow, give him the money and stuff like that. So what you're saying there definitely helps in that aspect, where if the family is empowered, then the temptation to sell off your daughter to make money, or if she is having problems in her marriage and comes back to you, you say, go back, go back, go back. I don't want to hear it. Go there and get beaten because you're not able to pay that bride price back. I don't know whether that's the same kind of thing. That kind of experience is common also in Zambia.
Yes, it is still there, despite all the efforts that are being made. We still have pockets of those problems still unresolved. And one of the reasons you find that children stray away into having early marriage and the early exposure to sex is lack of extramural activities.
Correct.
The mind needs to be busy. These days, we don't have so many libraries. We don't have so many sports activities. We don't have so many things that we used to do during our time. We used to do cookery at school. We used to have what we call science, sewing. Sports was a full-time activity at school, and you chose which you wanted to do. These days, sports grounds have been grabbed sometimes for housing, and not forgetting that sports is a very big component in the mental activity of every human being. And it starts from when they are. So there are no safe places where these young people can go to and just mingle as boys and girls without age to say we can go into a relationship. But these days, that challenge is so much. Drug abuse is another thing which we are grappling with in communities. And it's so sad that the drugs are being supplied by people who are protecting their own families and exposing other children's lives to these bad vices. So I'll keep emphasizing that these challenges we have cannot be dealt with in isolation. They need a holistic approach, because if they are dealt with individually, as soon as you deal with one aspect, the other thing will be breaking down.
Exactly.
But all efforts are not in vain. We just need to say, what can Africa do on its own, which has worked before? Some of the things we try to import, to use in our communities from the so-called developed countries are not meant for us. We have our own culture and tradition, which we should not abandon because it inculcated values. Growing up, the do's and don'ts were very clear. The importation of freedom and democracy must be guided. It is not hostile, because our communities are not designed like that. We should not throw away what makes us Africans, because that's what makes us strong, courageous, and be able to achieve. Yes, the world is developing, but the influence of certain aspects, we should just not receive them as if, without paying attention at what rate should these influence be on our communities. At what rate should we accept? Should we throw away everything that makes us for the sake of looking like a developed nation? That will not help.
Yep. I don't know whether there was the same with you. We had this term called civilized. You're civilized. And so, and civilization made it look like everything European, everything Western was what was civilized. To the part, even it went right down to food. If you are wealthy, you stop eating fufu, you stop eating some thing. We are eating spaghetti and we're eating rice. That makes you elitist. You know, sometimes it's a mentality.
And in the process, we have uncontrolled health challenges which we
Yes.
cannot explain.
Yes.
Because now even the so-called people from developed countries who have visited Africa, they actually appreciate our food and how it regulates our hormones, our systems in our body.
Exactly.
But because of this word civilization, we have an upswing of blood pressure, upswing of diabetes, upswing of cancer. No one is sitting down to say, what have we done to our natural foodstuffs, which are being abandoned in search for other foods which we don't even understand.
Right.
We must go back to growing our own food.
Right.
We have introduced hunger because we have forgotten that we've got our own food, which doesn't require so much fertilizer to grow.
To start with.
Everything requires to be genetically assisted.
Engineered, yes.
We have abandoned our own, which our soils were very fertile, rains were natural, rivers were natural, and all this ecosystem is being disturbed. In the process, we are inviting hunger, which is not supposed to be there.
Right. Hunger and disease, like you've mentioned. Yes. So, yes. I hope you're still on, right? Because you faded out a little bit.
Yes,
yeah.
I can see.
Yes, I can hear you again. And then, so let's talk. Yesterday was the International Day of the Girl Child. Were there activities in Zambia celebrating it? Are you aware of any? Were you part of any of those?
There are so many activities which are still going on even today. We had the young visiting schools and giving timely advice to the girl child, boy child, distributing education materials. We had our current First Lady making a statement and encouraging the girl child to be focused. And she used that day to visit 13 of our girls who were abducted, and then they were rescued. One of them was pregnant and she gave birth, and the First Lady was there to give her support, and they invited all the 13 young girls at State House to have a meal with them, with the president. So there are so many things that have been going on. For me, the celebration is an extension. This afternoon, I'm attending a weekly Rotary program where we are featuring a mother who has been looking after a physically challenged child, how she has been coping, because this is, as we celebrate the able-bodied, we should know that there are girl children who are struggling physically and need support. They need the same opportunities in as far as education is concerned, job opportunities, training, and just coexistence in our communities. So when we celebrate the girl child, we must know that there are some who still need more support than ever before. And we must fish them out, not feel marginalized. They must feel part of what is going on.
True. That is very true. The theme this year, if I recollect well, is our time is now, our rights, our future. And I think this, what you just said there, those activities that took place and that are still taking place are right in line with that theme. You cannot identify a problem and then talk about how next year, in 5 years' time, we'll look into it, we'll try to look for solutions then. The time is now, because what you do now will affect the future. So, like you just mentioned there about this handicapped person or persons, they have their rights as well. It's not as if their rights are any less simply because they're not able-bodied. So I'm really glad to hear that. So if you had, let us do a hypothetical kind of situation, because we know that life works the way it works. We don't have, we wish for many things, and sometimes we cannot get them. There are impediments that prevent us from achieving those dreams. So if you had your way, you had all the necessary funding, you had the legal and political clout and everything, what kind of laws would you pass? What kind of reforms would you put in place to ease the plight of the girl child, to even further the enhancement and well-being of the girl child?
I must say that I'm privileged to live in a country where the rule of law is a priority for the government, even past successive governments. They've passed progressive laws, which affects the children. Just this year, last month, the Child Rights Act was passed, which protects the children holistically. We have the gender policy, which affords equal opportunities to women, access to land, access to, with regard to the African Union guidelines of 50-50 representation, we are very hard to reach that. So all in all I can say, you as individuals, we don't need political clout to contribute to the fighting for. We don't need to be probably rich. We don't need to be educated. We just have to be citizens. And in a small way, as an individual, as communities, as people belonging to NGOs or certain groupings, there's a lot. We just need to have the will to be part of the change that we want to see. Because if you wait to say, until I become a member of parliament, then I do something. Until I become a councillor, then I can do something. Until I become a president, then I can do something. Time does not wait.
Exactly. And we cannot all be president or parliamentarian. We cannot all be those things. So yes.
So we must just tell ourselves, what can I contribute in a small way, which will have a multiplier effect on somebody? Change one life, and that one life will have an impact on so many lives.
That's wisdom.
Don't say, I have thousands of dollars, then I can help many people. Start with what you can. It can start with just the belongings which we have in our households. For example, you have probably 10 pairs of shoes, and in 1 year you ask yourselves, am I going to wear these 10 pairs of shoes in 12 months? The answer will be no. Some of the shoes will start even degenerating on your shelves. Why don't you pick those shoes, give them to somebody who will sell them and get something, and that can be used as capital. You go to your wardrobe, you have thousands of clothes, maybe even African attire, chitenges, whatever, which you just pile in your suitcases. That can be capital. You have artifacts which you are not using. You have gadgets for your children whom they have outlived. A toy given to somebody who just light up the life of that child. So sometimes we look for very expensive things. What changes somebody's life is very easy, very simple. In the village or in the community, you give someone 2 chickens, a male and a female. In 1 month, it starts rearing eggs and other chickens and other chicks.
Right.
You give someone a pocket of flour, they'll start making something to sell.
Yes.
So regardless of your station in life, you can do a lot to change somebody's life. You must continue having the Ubuntu spirit of looking for somebody, looking out for someone and how you can help them in a small way. It does not mean when you want to give, you have a lot yourself. Yes. It means you yourself are disadvantaging yourself and you are saying, let me sacrifice and the rest will sort itself out. So really helping should not be limited by these challenges I've mentioned.
I couldn't agree with you more. That is such sound advice, sound counsel that you have given right there that all of us need to take to heart. You don't have to have, out of whatever it is that you've got, you can still help. You can even, most of us are mothers, we are wives. Yeah. In your own house, they're starting with your own children. You can raise them with a different mentality where you see, because some of us do that, you have the boy there, you tell him, no, don't go to the kitchen. You don't do that. No, and tell the sisters to wait on their brothers. But you can start right there saying, hey, no, son, come to the kitchen and learn how to cook too. Respect your sister. Yeah. Yes. So that you can start doing the changes even within your own home before you even start doing that gifting thing and looking outwards. And if we did that, we could actually change our societies from within, from being the people that are in the homes that actually influence how people think. You're right.
Yeah. I agree with you because you see, if you don't train your boy child how to cook, this is a young person who's going to grow up into a young man, go to college, go to university. He's not going to immediately think of marrying so that the wife can be doing the chores that we are talking about. No, he will need to be alone, cook for himself, do laundry, clean, make up his bed. That training must start when these children are in our homes.
Right.
No, we created the prescription of cooking belonging to women.
Right.
When you go into it, the best chefs are actually men.
That's
so
right.
Who created those who cook food for us in the hotels? It is these stereotypes and gender roles that we give as mothers.
Exactly.
The change starts with us. How do we treat our children, both male and female, as they grow up? Yes, so we must allow them to learn all the chores. Even the girls, let them learn how to wash cars, mend one or two things.
Yeah.
After all, when they go to school, we encourage them, no, go and do sciences, go and do technical drawing. Right. Yes, you want your girl to do drawing, but at home you are telling her, no, you cannot even put up a bulb because you are a girl.
Right.
So these things, we shape them ourselves in our homes. And change must start with us as mothers, as parents. Yes.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to come and talk about the girl child. And when we talk about the girl child, yes, there's a universal girl child everywhere, because even here with Hillary Clinton was talking about glass ceilings. So that exists everywhere. But I like the fact that we've taken the time to talk about the African girl child. And even if you've talked about the perspective of Zambia specifically, what you've said there applies to pretty much any country on the continent of Africa.
Yes.
Yes. So would you have a closing word for us? Because I know I've taken up a good amount of your time. Thank you so much. But what would you have as a closing word? If the African girl child will be listening to you today, they're saying we're listening to Her Excellency Mrs. MAUREEN MWANAWASA. And what did she have to say to them specifically?
I want to tell the African girl child that you were born for greatness.
Amen.
And never being born an African girl child. You have a lot to offer, and because you are a child, we will encourage ourselves as adults to give the support that is necessary.
Right.
Allow you to grow up in an environment that will protect you.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, a child is brought into the world by two people.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately it's born, becomes a child for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the community we are saying, don't turn your back on this child. Mm-hmm. Don't be the one who is going to put a spear in this girl child. Mm-hmm. Remember, this child is your child, is a community child, mm-hmm. and must be supported by the community. No child should feel, no girl, African girl child should feel alone. Mm-hmm. And as Africans, we start with our continent. Let's put our concerted efforts together. Mm-hmm. Let's create synergies. Let's create these strong synergies where we pool resources to change the Africa that we want. Mm-hmm. Let's not work in isolation. Let's send support, whether material, financial, or just morally, moral support to other countries. Mm-hmm. We are one continent. These borders which we have were created just to help us to know where we are. Mm-hmm. But let us have a seamless African borderless continent, mm-hmm. and pool resources, mm-hmm. and make sure that no African child is left behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I am so grateful. That is an amazing talk we've had here. Very enlightening, very encouraging, and I'm very confident that the everybody listening, male or female, young or old, has taken something from this. So we just hope that everybody who has listened would be encouraged, would be enlightened to go on out there and do exactly what you said and take communal responsibility for these activities. Because if we succeed together and we all look good. And if we fail, it's a failure on all of our parts. So thank you very much, Her Excellency, for taking the time. And I wish you success in all the undertakings. And thank you also for all you have done to promote the well-being of the girl child.
Thank you, EGBE. Hope to have another opportunity. There is a lot to discuss. But for now, thank you for this.
Count on it, and hopefully the next time technology will be very much more on our side, and we'll get this going. Trust me, I will keep that promise. It will be my honor and privilege to have you on again.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.